Hey, welcome. I'm doing kind of a, I don't know, spur of the moment video because I have time. And it's August 10th, 2021. And I'm doing a video with a theme that I've been putting off doing for quite a while. But I wanted to wait for a right opportunity, and I have a lot of vinyl finds to go through, and I'm not going to show a lot of them, but I wanted to show a record at the end of my records I'm going to show you. It's basically a story of a 1969 birthday party that I attended with a at back then was my best friend who lived in the same apartment building as me, and he got a record. He got, of course, this kid was like an only child, and so I was jealous of him growing up. I had two siblings, still do, but he was an only child. So like when Christmas came along or his birthday came along, he made out like a bandit with all his cool toys and stuff that I never got. But anyway, I'm gonna show you some finds, and I'll leave this find at the end because one of the gifts he got at this birthday party that I attended with some of his relatives and stuff was this record, and I wanted this record and I never came across it. And it's a kind of record that's skewed towards kids. It's based on a cartoon show, a comic strip, and the hint. Okay, you might know what I'm talking about, but what you may or may not know about collectible records is that records that skew towards kids are valuable if they're in great condition, because kids did not take care of records. And if they had a record player, it was usually some cheapy portable record player or one of those. Well, actually, this is an album. But if you were like a kid growing up in the 1960s, you might have remembered the dreaded Kenner close and play record player that would play like a 45 record. You would close it and it would play it, and you know, who knows how many records were ruined by that record player. But anyway, I'm gonna show you the finds, some finds that I've accumulated. I've actually had these for quite a while, but I've been saving them because I've been so busy with my new job, and I may talk a little bit about this job at the end of this video too. It's I'm working there temporarily, but in a way it's kind of like a dream job for me. But anyway, let's get on with the finds. This is actually, first find is a very recent find. I got at the antique mall in my town. It's a Hollies record. If you can see, it's called Moving Fingers, and I've only played the first side, but it's pretty good. I don't know what else I can tell you about it. I don't even know what year it was released. But the Hollies were actually, after Graham Nash left, yeah, they did that cover record of Dylan songs or whatever. And that's what Graham Nash wanted to leave, or he wanted to do his own songs that they didn't agree with. But anyway, if you know the history of the Hollies, they were still trying to make progressive contemporary music written by their members. Okay, after that I got a couple of Doobie Brothers finds, and yeah, I kind of, if you grew up in the 70s, you know, the Doobie Brothers were like a staple of FM radio or pop radio. Wasn't really into them that much. I had like their greatest hits or whatever. These are some original albums. The Captain and Me. And I do like them. I mean, you have to be in a certain mood. They were kind of like a light pop rock type group, and then also this one, Stampede. And I think I played these through. Now another group, I find these it's one of those like 60s pop groups that was like famous for being on TV a lot. It was Paul Revere and the Raiders. Um, in the wild, when you look through thrift stores, you might have come across like a greatest hits compilation or whatever. But I found some really good, excellent condition original records. One is this one, Revolution. Um, and the hits off here were like Him or Me, What's It Gonna Be, I Had a Dream. It's a pretty solid record. I like it. I played it through a couple of times. And another one, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Hard and Heavy with Marshmallow. And the main hit off this one was Mr. Sun, Mr. Moon. Another one was like Cinderella Sunshine, if you can see that there. I think I can't remember, I think I found this one at Goodwill. But it's hard to find Paul Revere and the Raiders original records I found through the years. I mean, almost never found them until now. Now here's another record I found out of the blue at like a Vincent de Paul in my town, and they haven't really had many records in the last few years there. Many years ago, and on this channel, I've shown records that I found there when they had like a large collection. That was like many years ago. But I did find this. I never thought I would find this, but it was 4 Jacks and a Jill, and I couldn't even find, even in my Goldmine book, collectible records, I could not find anything on 4 Jacks and a Jill. They were kind of like a folk pop group out of England in the mid-60s. They're kind of like, I don't know how you would describe them. They were kind of like a little too like sugary, saccharine kind of like sound. Kind of like I'm kind of thinking of another group. I can't think of them now. The Seekers. Kind of like the Seekers. They had like obviously a girl singer with male musicians, and their music is kind of like sunshiny pop stuff. But it was a great find to find this record. I never thought I would find this record at a thrift store, and it's in near mint condition. Actually, I think it's a reissue, because when I'm not going to pull it out to show you, but the label was like a latter period RCA label. But that's 4 Jacks and a Jill. Okay, now here's a very cool vintage find. If you know Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, they were kind of like, I guess you would kind of describe them as kind of like a party band. I mean, their records were more like light novelty pop songs. Okay, Wooly Bully, Little Red Riding Hood, and this is the album. The album, Little Red Riding Hood, Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. And I found this at Goodwill, so I only paid like $1 for this, and it's in excellent condition. And I never ever come across a Sam and the Sham and the Pharaoh album until now. So this was a very, very cool find. It's not worth a whole lot of money, but you know, for what I paid, I obviously made out pretty well. So that's Sam and the Sham and the Pharaohs. Now here I found at another Vincent de Paul, I found some Juice Newton. And you know, Juice Newton is not hugely collectible. But I found a couple albums that I didn't have yet. I found this one. What's it called here? Can't Wait Till All Night. You can see there. And another one I found, and it's still sealed. I found this one at Vincent de Paul that recently opened up, not too far from me, about a couple years ago. But it's still sealed. It has like a cutout, like a hole cut into it. And this must have been one of her early records, or early, maybe it was the first record, I don't know. But it says Juice Newton and and silver Spur come to me, and it's still sealed. I haven't even opened it up yet. And you can see there's the backing group there. You can see that through the reflection. One guy here is really proud of his chest hair, I guess, showing that. But anyway, so I'll open this up and, you know, play it one of these days. Now here's a record that I actually had a long time ago on a cassette, a pre-recorded cassette. And this is a guy who was kind of famous for being with Neil Young in the, I think it was the Tonight's the Night record. He played piano on that record. He wasn't really a piano player, but he was like enlisted to play on this record. But this is a guy named Nils Lofgren. I Came to Dance. And I had this on a cassette long time ago, and I think I lost it or got rid of it or whatever. But to come across this again on vinyl, I thought it was a very cool thing. So that's Nils Lofgren for you. Now here's another kind of a compilation, kind of like a blue-eyed soul British artist, I guess, singer, Dusty Springfield. I got Dusty Springfield's greatest hits here. Had a lot of great pop hits, top 40 kind of hits or whatever. So that's a very cool find. Now I have pretty much every Gordon Lightfoot album. This is a latter period, one of his East of Midnight. This is a promo copy. So that was a very cool find. I haven't played it yet, but it appears to be in like near mint condition. Now here's I have a Chuck Berry record, but it's not. It's kind of like, I thought it was like his original hits. Now it says golden hits or whatever, but I played it through and they're actually like re-recorded. He re-recorded these hits for this record, for better or worse. I don't know. I prefer the original versions. Here's another famous kind of crossover artist. If you just, I'm just talking about this right now. If a while back, not too long ago, PBS had that series on country music, and they talked about different crossover artists, and they talked about Roger Miller. He was like a huge crossover artist back in like 1965. He was like on the verge of like giving up because he wasn't getting any success with his kind of like silly novelty songs. He had friends in country music business who said, "Why are you doing all these silly songs? You know, why don't you do something a little more serious?" Well, anyway, this is pretty much this. I think was released with different covers, but anyway, this is like Dang Me. But he had a one also called Roger and Out album, but that's on here. So it's like he went from obscurity in Nashville to becoming this huge crossover star, and this is pretty much like you can kind of see here. This is Roger and Out. So that was like he became like virtually giving up on Nashville or country music to becoming this big crossover star. Okay, on a lot of people, if you go vinyl digging, you come across maybe a lot of like Anne Murray records. I kind of a fan. I like her earlier stuff. I have like the Snowbird album. This was actually another very early record of hers, Talk It Over in the Morning. And I think there was I watched a biography on YouTube on Anne Murray, and she was like being interviewed, and if you see what she's wearing and how she looks on there, I think she might have been like being interviewed or whatever on the very day that this picture was shot, because she was wearing the exact same outfit or same top or whatever that this picture shows when she was like being interviewed early in her career. But I respect Anne Murray. I like her singing. I like women singers who are not white singers who sound white. I've said this a while back in another video. I'm not a fan of like singers who think they have to like caterwaul and emote. And I'm not being racist when I say this. You can call me a racist. I don't care. So many black singers, they have to do all this caterwauling and emoting. They can't sing the song. They have to like sing their voice or like, you know, I call it the Whitney Houston effect. If you have a song, sing the lyrics. Don't try to impress me with all this, emoting and caterwauling to get through a song. And that's what I like about like someone like her, um, and other so-called white singers. Um, I love the female voice. I love the female singing voice, but you don't have to try to impress me with, you know, distracting from the song to yourself. Okay, my opinions, they're out there, and that's what I'm settling for. Okay, now I found this great package by a great kind of a pioneer too. Yeah, he was in a TV show with his folks. We're talking Ricky Nelson. I got this one, the package, the Ricky Nelson Story 2-record set. Um, he was kind of a significant artist in a way because he kind of like made certain genres of music like rockabilly into the mainstream. He also had great taste in players he used in his band. I'm thinking of the guitarist. I can't think of his name offhand. The one I'm thinking of. I'll think of it later, probably after I finish the video. But anyway, let's move on because time's getting away from me. It's already 17 minutes. And I found I always like to pick up movie soundtracks. I found this one from the movie Bonnie and Clyde. Of course, that has the famous Foggy Mountain Breakdown, um, which was like specific to this movie. They wanted to use that track in this movie, kind of personified the times that this movie portrayed, the kind of early folk hero lawlessness or whatever of the Great Depression, whatever. But that's Bonnie and Clyde for you. Now here's a record, kind of interesting. John Stewart, you might remember, who's like a songwriter. He was in the I can't think of the name either. But anyway, after he made that song Gold, People Are Turning Music into Gold, it was kind of a hit for him. He made a follow-up album of this one. That song was on an album called Bombs Away Dream Babies. Okay, after that record, he made another album, kind of a follow-up called Dream Babies Go to Hollywood, which was not successful, unfortunately. I don't know if he made any out. I think he did some records after this, but they were like not on a major label. But he was a prolific singer-songwriter. I think the main drawback to John Stewart is his singing style. He sounded too much like Johnny Cash. He kind of like sounded like an imitation of Johnny Cash, but he was a famous songwriter. He wrote Daydream Believer, that the Monkees made a big hit out of. That was like his breakthrough record, I think. But he was a prolific singer-songwriter. He performed a lot himself, but so many people do not know him, and it's kind of a shame. But he did have I don't know, he's still around, but he has had a long career. Now I'm going to move on. Here's a record I found. This is it's actually a collectible record. I think it's worth like $40 or $50 in the condition I found it. It's Albert King, blues guitarist, Born Under a Bad Sign, on Stax. So it's not like something you're going to find that was ever re-released on a CD. And I know I looked it up in my collectible records book, and I know the value of it. And it's in excellent shape. And it was a very lucky find. I played it through a couple times. It sounds great. Now this is what I say about digging at like a Goodwill or thrift store. You never know what you're going to find. Even for a mainstream artist like the Beatles, once in a great while you will find some collectible Beatles records. And these, I'm going to show you these two Beatles finds. They're collectible because they're capital, but they're mono. They're not stereo. And that's what makes them a little more valuable. And I found Rubber Soul in mono on Capitol. This is an original pressing. Okay, and you can tell if you look at the corner up there, it just says high fidelity recording. Also available on stereo. This is in great condition. It plays great. I never would have thought I would have came across this record at my local Goodwill. Another one I found, also mono, the Beatles' second album. This is also a Capitol record, mono pressing. Look at the back there. Like I said, it says there high fidelity, also available in stereo. Also sounds great. It's in great condition. In fact, the nice thing about mono records, I think as a rule, is because of the characteristics of the grooves of a mono record, they're deeper. So that whether you have a stereo player or any kind of player, if you have any superficial marks or scratches on the record, the grooves are so deep that you're not gonna hear that on the record as you play it. Okay, so those are the two mono Beatles finds I found. And if you know me, if you know my past videos, most of my Beatles finds I've bought through the years, I looked for like the best copy of whatever album it was and kept it. Like most of my Beatles albums are like the British pressings or the mobile fidelity pressings of the original British albums. But these are the Capitol albums, so for better or worse, you know, if you know they don't have like certain tracks that were left off to put on later on a so-called extra Capitol record. But anyway, this is the last and not least. This is the record that my friend at his 1969 birthday party got among his many gifts, which I was so jealous that he got. But they gave him this record. He opened it up. We played it, and I think we played it like at least a couple times. In fact, most of the other guests had left, and we had stayed, played the record. And he had like one of those. They had one of those portable players. It wasn't a super cheapy player, but it was a decent sounding record. But anyway, if you were a kid in like 1969, 1970, and you watched all the Saturday morning cartoons, which now a lot of them would be considered politically incorrect, like adventure, which meant, you know, violence and stuff. But this was kind of like a nice kind of like record for, it was like rock and roll, but it was like cartoon, and that's what it was. If you know the history, say, of the Monkees, you know who Don Kirshner was, like the guy who picked what the Monkees would record or whatever. Of course, then the Monkees say, hey, we want to be a real group. We want to write our own material. We want to perform our own records. We want to make our own records. We want to play our own instruments. Well, then Don Kirshner said, well, okay, but I'm gonna like start another group. And he did, with like a ghost musician, I guess you'd call him. But anyway, the group was actually a cartoon or a comic strip, and the group was this group, the Archies. This was, I think, their first record. And if you know the history of the Archies, you could look it up on Wikipedia. It even shows here like, oh, watch the cartoon show or whatever on Saturday mornings, whatever. But if you know the year 1969, the #1 record or single was actually Sugar Sugar. Now, the funny thing was, Sugar Sugar is not on this record. It was actually on the record after this. So this record came out, I think, before, but my friend got this record as a gift in the spring of 1969 when I attended his birthday party. So it was like, and if you know the value of records like this, because they skewed towards kids, kids did not take care of their stuff for the most part. Maybe some did. That's what makes records like this that skew towards kids valuable if they're in good condition. So that's basically that's this record, the Archies. I think the main sort of hit off this record was Bang Shang Lang. You're thinking, well, that sounds kind of suggestive. Well, Bang Shang Lang. But I remember, if you were old enough to remember the Archie's cartoon show, there would be like a segment where they would like play a pop song where they would like be on their little, their little combo, playing the record, and they would have like different vignettes or whatever. Like, but Bang Shang Lang was basically the single off this first record, the first Archies album. So I hope you appreciated this video. It's getting really long, and maybe next time I will say something quickly that I am working, and I'm working at a job that I hope turns permanent. I got in through this place. I will say as a teaser that it is kind of like, if you watch my channel and you see my different interests, one of my main interests was bicycling and bicycle mechanics, and that is basically what my job is now. And I'm working for probably not so subtle hint. I'm working for a bicycle company in Wisconsin, in Waterloo, and it's a 4-letter company. Word is a 4-letter word. It starts with T and ends with K. So I think it doesn't take too much brains to figure out, if you know anything about bicycles, what company that is. So without any further ado, I'll say goodbye for now, and I hope you're doing well wherever you are in this age of COVID, whatever. I hope you're working. If you're not working, I don't know why you're not working. It's like the job market where I am is so ridiculously open. It's like if you can walk and chew gum at the same time, you're going to get hired to do something. So without any further ado, I'll say goodbye for now. Bye for now.